The time has come and we have Tesla earnings in. I want to use this video not just to review the earnings. I will make it very quick. There are lots of very smart people discussing the earnings. This is all about the big picture and what we can learn from these earnings going forward and why Tesla dominates the world as the greatest AI and robotics startup we have ever seen, and probably that we will ever see in the next decade. So here is what's so unbelievable. Let's take a quick look at the earnings and see how this actually looks like. So I'm going to share the screen. And what you see here is Tesla's earnings overview. And when we look at this, just look at that financial summary. I will go into the details. It's not going to be boring, but I will show you why this is an absolutely unbeatable machine. So we are coming in at $20 billion in total automotive revenues and some other revenues here. Energy, roughly 10%, a little bit more, and then service and other revenue. But here's the thing, total revenues, 25 billion per quarter. That was the last quarter. Here's the most important thing. When you go down, what you see here, look at this. Net cash provided by operating activities. That's what I want you to look at. $6.2 billion. What does that mean? That means that Tesla generated $6.2 billion after all operating activities that it had available to do whatever it wants with. This is the investment that Tesla can make. And actually, it made $3.5 billion investments. Now, let this sink in. Think about this. What does that mean? I want to take a step back and really digest this so you understand why this is such a crazy thing. Let's go a little bit more down and see what they did actually on AI. As Elon reported here, we deployed and trained ahead of schedule on a 29,000 H100 cluster. So 29,000 NVIDIA chips ran the AI. And we are expected to have 50,000 H100 capacity by the end of October. This is the second largest cluster in the world after, of course, xAI, Elon's AI startup. But you see at what insane rate Tesla is investing in building out AI capability. Of course, that's not the entire amount they're investing here. A lot of that goes into hardware and Optimus development and other car developments. But let's take a step back and let that all in. What does it all mean? It means here you have a company, Tesla, that is the world's greatest AI and robotics startup. It works with the premise that it's building a completely new business and vertical from now on into the future. And people say they're betting the farm and betting everything on a giant scale on AI and robotics, on FSD and Optimus. But think about it. The exact opposite is actually true. They're not betting anything, and they are not making any kind of risky decision. Tesla is right now sitting on $33 billion in cash and investments and is adding $6 billion a quarter to that and invests out of that $6 billion. It's actually adding to that cash pile. Think about this in startup terms. That's what I want you to do. Think about that in startup terms. There are all these companies, OpenAI, right? Figure One, all the robotics company. You have Cruise on the FSD side. You have some Chinese doing some things. Let's assume Elon and his team are just average. They're like the other guys, but they're differently capitalized. Let's assume you have a startup that can invest $3 billion a quarter, $12 billion a year in itself. 12 billion, that's more than OpenAI raised. 12 billion every single year. But not just that. It's not diluting, it's anti-diluting, because it also makes another 3 billion or 2.7 billion per quarter in actually free cash flow. It has that left over after investing. And that 2.7 billion goes onto a giant cash pile of $33 billion that's already sitting in this company. So technically, you have a AI and robotics startup here funded with $33 billion in cash that can invest $3 billion per quarter or $12 billion a year and just pile onto that cash another 2.7 billion or another, let's make it 10 billion a year to grow the cash pile. So you're coming in at 33 billion, Next year, you will be at 43 billion while you invest 12 billion into AI and robotics. That's crazy. How are you going to compete against that thing? So on the cash side, Tesla is a giant cash production engine on the auto business that's just going to grow like crazy, by the way. And Elon made this clear in the earnings call. And I made this clear before. They're going to continue to grow like crazy and take over the whole auto industry. Latest in 2026, there will be an implosion, as I said before, of the OEMs. So this core business that generates all that cash is not going away. It's growing. And out of this core business, they can invest tens of billions of dollars every single year into the real startup here. So that real startup has, two giant TAMs. So let me just outline Tesla as a company. It has two smaller TAMs, a $1 trillion energy TAM, total addressable market, at $1 trillion at 40% margins that it can capture, which is huge, $400 billion in margin theoretically. It has the auto business where Tesla is best positioned to take over at least half of the world, at least non-Asia. Tesla will dominate the entire auto market and take it over. That's a $4 trillion thing at roughly 15% margins. There is no competition for Tesla outside China. And Tesla is protected in these two big markets, Europe and the US. These are the core businesses that are just running like crazy and printing all that money. And now the two new startup markets are the FSD market, fully autonomous driving, where Tesla has an insurmountable lead. And people who don't understand this yet will understand it very soon. That's a $8 trillion at whatever, 30% margins. And then finally, Tesla has an even more insurmountable lead in humanoid robots, which is an unlimited TAM. I think it starts at 20 trillion a year. That's the human labor market, but it goes way beyond that very quickly. I think it will have a massive growth trajectory in the next 10 years and then goes just off to the races at 30% margins. So these enormous mothers of all TAMs, FSD and then robots, Tesla can keep hammering innovation towards these goals and already made tremendous progress, fueled by an enormous cash pile that's just going to be bigger and bigger and bigger. Would you invest in this startup? Think about it. If that would be a startup that is pitched to you, unlimited cash, vastly dominating in cash against any other startup or company in the world, super focused on its two core TAMs, full self-driving and then robots, already having a giant lead and already nearly being done to get to product market fit, but it doesn't even matter because it prints tens of billions per year. That's a pretty good pitch. Now, to add to this pitch and why this, creates total domination, on top of the cash, think about the other strategic advantages. Global, massive manufacturing infrastructure. No one comes even close. Number two, it has the number one global brand for talent. It can suck up all the talent in the world for AI, for robotics, for FSD. No one can compete. It gets the best people. Number three, the ability to pre-sell millions of units of any product it develops, even if these products cost tens of thousands of dollars. It can generate tens of billions of dollars in pre-sales with a tweet. Think about that. And I continue. It gets hundreds of millions of dollars in free advertising per month through Elon's 200 million followers on X and the media coverage. Okay, so not just do I have unlimited as Tesla, do I pitch you as an investor with unlimited cash, which is always an advantage, of unlimited growing cash, a huge technology lead. You can contest that. Let's assume that they don't have a technology lead against the key competitors, but they do. But then, best access to talent, pre-sale millions of units, hundreds of millions in free advertising per month. I mean, it's crazy. It's going to lead to total domination. And that's how I view Tesla. That's why I think these short-term things, and I said this in the video before, who cares about short-term earnings? Who cares that now the stock is up 12%, could have been down 12%. It doesn't matter in a 24 months or 36 months time scale. And I'm very sure that this is the right time scale. There are coming these walls, these giant catalysts on FSD and on Optimus. And if they get a year delayed, if they get 2 years delayed, it doesn't matter. If you get 2 years delayed, it just means you have another $24 billion to invest into getting to this goal. So it's not the question if Tesla ever gets there. They already went a very long path to get to where they are now and are getting closer and closer. But every single year, they're throwing $10 billion against the problem. It's an exponential progress curve. And the vision, the target state that Elon wants to achieve is obvious and it's true. It is FSD, and if it's robots. So that's why I am as bullish as I ever were on this. And some people criticized me that I said I de-risked before earnings. Of course I de-risked. That doesn't mean I sell all my Tesla shares. I'm very happy with the outcome here. It was worth to de-risk a little bit. But as I said, this is a giant wall coming. Tesla is dominating AI and robotics and will exponentially dominate in the next 24 months. And there will be tough times where the stock drops again like crazy. Who cares? Invest it. I invest in a way where I just try to maximize the number of shares I have effectively. So I think, as always, not as always, Tesla nailed it this earnings, but it doesn't really matter. You have to take a step back and see this giant cash machine and the giant innovation machine, quantitatively giant, that is just like a train going towards that future. And the real underlying secret here is that Elon was able to pull off this giant cash machine and combine it with a very, very clear target state that he wants to get us to with FSD and humanoid robots. Same with SpaceX, knowing exactly your target state that you want to engineer and driving all your resources against that. That's what I take away from this. That's how I design my civilization series and my target state videos that are coming as we speak. And Tesla is the ultimate inspiration together with Elon and SpaceX. It shows you what is possible if you execute soundly and combine this with a target state of engineering that you want to drive everything towards. So I hope you enjoyed that. There will be more videos on this. This is a giant leap forward, and the train, the Tesla train, no pun intended, is moving towards its target, and no one is going to stop it. See you soon.